Hey guys, so you're watching Vexit, and I'm here with Anne, and she's going to tell us about her art journey. And the whole point of Vexit is to exit your frustrations to your passions. And she's an amazing artist, so I was really happy to pick her brain and figure out how it is she got started. Let's start out with where you're from.
I am from Huntsville, Alabama, and am one of the few people that is original to here. We get a lot of people from all over the country and all over the world moving here, but I was actually born here.
That's pretty cool. So, what was it like growing up in Alabama?
It's kind of like what you might think, except that Huntsville has been in this boom of rapid growth. And, that started when I was a teenager and it's just sort of snowballed. And so, um, when I was going to high school, I'm like, oh, I just can't wait to move somewhere where something's going on and things are happening and there's more culture and more art. But then it all kind of came here. In fact, where I'm sitting is in Low Mill Arts and Entertainment, which is the largest privately owned arts facility in the Southeast. It's modeled after the torpedo factory. So there's about 200 working artists here. And in a profession that can often be very solitary, this lets me be in a community of wonderful, supportive, creative people. And so I'm in no way alone. And it's great for me because I'm not as introverted as I think it would take to just be in the studio alone all the time.
That
So,
sounds amazing to be around that many artists and just to be able to get feedback or help someone else. That sounds so cool.
absolutely. It's incredible because there's always somebody here who can help or knows how to do what you need to do or can help you figure it out, right? Because artists are all problem solvers. And we share stuff and ideas. And it's really an incredible. I call it like Disneyland for artists. So
Sounds like Disneyland to me. Like
yeah,
I would like, I mean, probably like to go down there and check that out. That sounds so
yeah.
cool to me.
Come
Like
on.
okay, cool. I will.
Yeah.
Uh, so myself, I've been taking a community college class with
Uh-huh.
the same teacher for 22 years.
Oh, nice.
And there's two ladies that have been in that class with me from day one. And
Uh-huh.
it's not like a class where they're teaching us, but it's like more of like
Sorry for the interruption, but I have to correct myself. Robert Yu has taught me more about art than anybody else in my life. What I was trying to say is that he doesn't give us assignments. We pretty much can do what we want, and he helps us. Thank you.
uh a class where you have a place to go paint. And
Mm-hmm.
the teacher, he's more of like a trainer, like for art.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really
So it's
cool. That
independent study, but like he's like a coach, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, totally. So how like did you were you self-taught or did you like how did that come about?
No, I mean, obviously you have to figure out things yourself. It's like to figure out your own path and be, your own voice and your own um, direction. But I've taken so art classes. So like the woman who like would babysit me when I was really little. One of my earliest memories is like her showing me how to like shade a grape with a crayon and put like a little highlight on it. And that was like before age 5. My mom took me to art lessons. I had a great high school art teacher. I studied art in college and got some painting and sculpting classes in sort of a broad liberal arts degree. Um, Ended up with a degree in graphic design. And then after about a year in that environment, it wasn't the right path for me. I wasn't happy. And I went back and got a master's in art education and taught public school art, which I loved because I'd say I'm 50% like teacher in my heart and the other 50% artist because I love that like soul feeding aha, but also so many people have fed into me. But then I would say the majority of my art skill came after that. So um, when my first child was born, I quit teaching to stay home. and then started looking more into developing my own art and where I wanted to go with it. And I still didn't know how to hadn't learned how to paint or sculpt or do anything fully the way that I wanted to. What was in my head and in my heart still wasn't making it out without like the skill that I wanted. And so, and this is after having like a master's degree in art education. But I still couldn't do really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lot better. And so I started taking workshops, and then I ended up teaming up with 2 other local artists, and we formed an atelier where we started inviting painters, in particular, in this realm of realism that all 3 of us happen to be interested in. And they came and taught workshops. We would host 4 or 5 per year, and we would get to take the workshops for free while we were doing all the organizing and work of hosting. And that was the biggest breakthrough for me, because in between the workshops, I could practice applying what I had learned and how it would help my work, and like figuring out how to incorporate that and synthesize, what are the commonalities between all these things, what's really useful and helpful to me. And I did that for about 5 years, and that was a tremendous growth in, my satisfaction with what I was making.
Well, you can definitely see your ability to show light. I think that it's like almost surreal in a way. Like I really believe like your lighting is amazing in your shadowing.
Oh, thank you.
It's almost like because I'm a photographer from my background,
Uh-huh.
definitely photo quality, but it has like a polar mist filter effect that your paints have that I think is a really cool signature.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
I'm assuming you use oil.
I am primarily an oil painter.
Got you.
Although in my recent foray into public art, I've also been doing murals in acrylic and latex. And then, the way that we met was through my kinetic sculpture in Avondale, which is my first piece like that. So
It's giant too. I mean, how did that come about? How did you get that opportunity?
So I, for the longest time, had absolutely no clue where public art came from. Like you would visit something, like the Bean or whatever, and you're like, wow, that's cool. I guess they got really famous and then someone asked them to do that. But then I learned through Huntsville Arts, like they hosted like a public art program, our local arts organization. And they did something for local artists in order to start getting public art from them and sort of giving people an opportunity without that in their portfolio to learn about that process. So they had smaller projects, smaller calls, and then they did a big one for their city hall, and the finalists for that were shown what national level proposals look like for public art. And that was a big aha for me, that this was a real opportunity, and also what a professional proposal looked like the level of polish and writing and presentation and how to pull an idea together for that. And so, long story short, that sort of taught me, it opened a door for me, because I
Okay.
got that proposal was accepted, and I got to do some local pieces and then started applying to things nationally. And so there was a proposal process. There was a call for that piece in Avondale, and they said they wanted it visible from the road. So I'm like, okay, it's got to be big. And they wanted it to look good from a lot of different angles. And my brain was like, well, if it spins, it'll look good from a lot of different angles. So even though I had never made a kinetic piece before, I'm like, I'll propose it and then we'll figure it out. So, it's not just me, it's a team of, then I show my design to engineers and hire them to make it safe, make it work. And then I do the work to make it look the way that I want it to.
So when you did that piece, were you doing it to scale? How did that work? Like, was it a smaller or like the same size? Because that's huge.
Yeah. So the um, proposal was first done fully digitally, and
Okay.
then I remade that small,
Mm-hmm.
and then sculpted a lot of details into that, like refining the design. And I had to do it a couple of times small because the engineering changed some of what I could do artistically, because it had to be structurally sound and fit this big 6-inch deep aluminum decagon. And so I had to like change the wave shape and things around it. And so then that I had scanned like my clay version of that was around a model of the engineering components that were the actual functioning part. And then so I did the fish that were in the base and the waves around the ring. And then I sculpted a version of a bird about this big and had it all scanned. And then the bird I 3D printed larger out of a carbon fiber, and then covered that with hand sculpted details that were cement and a fiberglass, installed into the cement. Sorry, someone's calling. Oops, are you still there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here. We're still here.
Okay. And then the 7-foot tall base that's 7 feet wide, I had milled out of foam from that digital scan, but none of that kept the details. So it's just like this big structure that was in 2 halves that I then joined together, and then again sculpted the details out of that same cement with fiberglass in it. And so then I have these 3 big pieces, in addition to a big cement pillar that had a bearing housing in it. And I'd sculpted the rings over, or the waves over this ring, and then had another rod that the bird would go onto, all in 3 pieces. And I did it in this large working space, but it still didn't have 16-foot tall ceilings. So I didn't get to see it put together until it went on a huge freight truck from Huntsville,
Wow.
all the way to outside the fire station in Avondale, and then was unloaded by crane and assembled. And that's my first time getting to see it go together. And then I spent several days painting it to look like a bronze patina, and then sealing that.
No way. I thought it was bronze.
Exactly. So the budget for the piece wouldn't have allowed me to make it in bronze.
That's what I was like. I was like, this is insane. Like this, like would easily be like over 50,000. Am I wrong there?
So the budget for the piece was 75,000, but
oh wow,
the engineering, like not actually making anything, but just getting the drawings done. I had an aerospace engineering company figure it out, because it's wind spinning this thing. It's not just structurally sound. We have to know that it's going to actually move. Right. And so that engineering cost alone was $14,000. And then there was a lot, shipping from Huntsville to there was $3,500. And, and I rented a scissor lift, and it was very, very expensive to make. The amount of time that I put into it, I probably would have made it more income as a painter, but it was a huge learning experience. And I didn't make negative dollars, so that's good.
Right.
But, when you haven't done something before, you can try and get estimates in advance, but, you just are kind of, again, problem solving and figuring things out as you go, and it costs what it costs. So, I got there as best I could, but bronze that size would have been very, very expensive.
So I was watching a video, an interview with Ed Mill, and this was back in '93. The horse and a cowboy. He said that was a $80,000 build, and like he said, he barely made anything after it because of after like same story that you just told us. So that's a pretty eye-opening view into making a sculpture, and it's phenomenal because I had no idea that it was not bronze, and I looked at that for a long time.
So that's all hand painted. A lot of sweat equity and making it look that way. And there's a paint that literally has bronze pigment in it. And then I sprayed a solution on it that would react in patina. But then also some of the patina is acrylic paint and me like putting my own artistic effect into making it look the way that I wanted it to look. But, you know, just to circle back to budgets, after you've done a piece that size, it's then in your resume and you can go to a city and go, I can make this, but I now know it costs this much to make that. And, you know, they're more likely to trust you with that budget once you've got pieces made. So, you know, it's not for nothing. You got to pay your dues in that respect. So
Absolutely amazing. Matter of fact, because I went there, there was a crane flying past, and I wish I could have got the video of the crane because that would have been so
amazing.
cool. Do you have any like special connections to like cranes or koi fish or?
Well, there are koi here, and I love cranes. I've just always been a big nature person. You know, that was a value instilled into me by my mother to be really interested in conservation. But you know, in just outside of Avondale and in that area, three rivers converge, and that's part of what the story is of that piece. Is because where the three rivers converge, there's a wetland in Arizona. So there are actually cranes and water life. And then if you walk just one block from where that sculpture is, you can go see koi fish. There's like a big koi pond and fishery and all of that nature there. So it's really a celebration of that, you know, something specific to that location. And so I did a lot of research and really wanted to tell a story, you know, specific to that place.
That's wild. I don't think anybody would have any idea how much went into that sculpture. Like just the fact I grew up here for the most part, and I didn't even know there was koi fish in that area.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So, I mean, if you walk, you'll find them. So I hope at least the people in that neighborhood, you know, that will appreciate
Right.
how specific that is to their place. But a lot of sweat, some literal blood went into that. A few minor injuries, but it was worth it. I'm proud of how it turned out. So
are you still teaching now as well, or?
I do privately. So here I do painting classes and things right now on a Saturday. So it's in a limited respect, and then I'll travel and teach workshops. But I'm not public school, and I've done all levels. I've taught like at the museum with 3-year-olds and retirees, and then I've taught at all 3 local colleges, like adjuncting. I love all of it. Anything where I'm helping people have that aha, and it's really fun. And honestly, I was so booked up with things for a while, I couldn't teach it all, and I missed it terribly. So that's my Saturday morning treat right now, is to go.
Is there a website people could go to connect with you on that getting taught?
Yeah. So my Instagram, I think I have a link straight to the classes right now, like in my bio. But also Huntsville Art Supply is the place that's hosting me right now. It's in the studio next to mine. And so you could just go to huntsvilleartsupply.com or just follow me on Instagram, because I'm good about sharing things there, and my Facebook. So my Instagram, I think, is Ann Moeller Studios. And so is my website.
Okay, we'll put the link below in the description too, so if people can just click, we'll make it easy for them. My next question is, do you have a favorite artist or someone or a couple of artists that motivate you or inspire you?
I do. So the coolest thing is, so they're classical artists like Rembrandt and Vermeer and those painters, you know, classical sculptures, Rodin, you know, that sort of area. Monet, you know, if you get into a little the impressionistic influence that you can see in my work. I like the tonalist painters, but then there's a lot of living painters, and that has been so important to me, because I would look at like work in an art magazine and I would think to myself, just how, or even like go to an art fair and look at work that was at a higher level than where I was, technically. And I would just be so frustrated and sad because I didn't know how. And then met a local painter, not local, to Tennessee, which I'm Tennessee Valley, I'm Northern Alabama. So it's basically in Tennessee. And her name is Mia Bergeron, and she was a huge influence. I went and I took a bunch of classes with her, but she also encouraged me to go to Portrait Society, which connected me to other artists, which made me realize I could invite these people to come teach, but also like they were friendly. We would go like have a drink at the bar, and I'm like, okay, these are just real people. Like what they do is special, but there's nothing that they have that I don't have.
Right.
And so if they did this, I can do this. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to figure it out. And so it gave me some confidence of like, okay, these are real mortal humans. They put their pants on one leg at a time, like everybody else. And let me figure this out. And you can actually like reverse engineer someone's skill set or their knowledge. You can open up an art magazine, see a painter whose work you love, look at their resume on the internet and figure out, will they teach you? And if they won't, where did they learn, right? How to do what they do. And a lot of things are a learned skill. There's this idea of talent, but I kind of don't believe in that. I believe in hard work and study and people that can shorten that road for you by showing you a path of how to do what it is that you want to do. And I've forgotten the question. Oh, so my favorite artist, living people. So Kwang Ho, I think his work is incredible. Derek Phoenix. A lot of people came to teach here. Xiaoming Wu, Dennis Perrin. The list goes like just on and on and on. Tina Garrett was huge. I'm sitting here looking at a paintbrush that like was groundbreaking for me. She showed me how to use these rosemary Comer brushes that are really good at like blending skin and like getting really lifelike flesh and colors and getting all that to layer. So little tidbits from all of these people that I've gotten to study with make them my favorite painters. And I think I like the work of living artists even more than classical painters because people are doing incredible, gorgeous things right now. So,
Wow, that was powerful. Really cool. I say one of my favorite things to do is to go to museums or go to galleries and try to break down how they did what they do. Because every time I go to a gallery, like now I just tell them I'm an artist,
yeah.
but they would figure it out eventually because I'm like just examining the picture or painting a little bit more than the normal person would.
Yep. Now I know that when someone walks into my studio and they stand there for just a minute and then their nose is about an inch away from the painting, I'm like, oh, you're a painter.
That's
Hi.
funny.
Let's talk
Love
about
to see
painting.
those brush strokes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Um,
sorry.
I was saying just the brush strokes to see them
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
to try to see like did they paint dark to light or light to dark? Like
Yep.
artists all understand that, but the average person is not even gonna know what that means.
Yeah.
Do you have a method? Do you do light to dark or light to dark? Sorry, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So usually with oil painting, I'll go dark to light, but then sometimes that doesn't make sense. Like if it's a painting where it's mostly light, sometimes I'll go big to small. It's just, and then one thing that I got, Alex Venezia is one of my favorite painters too. I didn't even mention him. I went and took a workshop with him in Lyme, Connecticut. And he was showing me like, well, the whole class, putting colors next to each other and making sure you get that relationship and just kind of moving across a painting that way. So that you can really make sure that section by section, so sort of playing a connection game so that everything is in right relationship as you move across. So I don't have anything fully consistent at that point.
Honestly, I have to say the same thing. Like, there's even sometimes I'll paint my I don't know if you call it a sketch, but
Mhm.
my underpainting will be white, and sometimes my underpainting will be uh the dark tone shadow tones. It just depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. But I don't know, I find that interesting to hear how people do their systems of figuring out what they're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's case by case basis, what makes sense to my brain at that moment. So
And so I noticed that most of your subjects are people. Is that like like your like what's the motivation behind that?
I just feel the most connection, I think, to people. Um, a way of capturing a soul. I think it's part of like my human experience. Most of them, even when they're not me, they are me. There's something in them that I feel or resonate with or want to be. The exception being when I paint my children and then I'm connecting to their spirit. Um, but I like telling sort of a story of humanity, but also my journey or my understanding of that story. So you'll see I paint women a lot. Um, and it's just, this channeling of myself.
That makes sense. Connection.
Yeah.
I totally can see that. Um, do you see like how do I put it? Because I feel like you're already an accomplished artist, but like do you see where do you see yourself going like owning a gallery um or keep the path that you're on or like how do you see yourself in the future?
There are short-term goals of like, I'm in the middle of creating a new body of work. This piece that's beside me is the first piece in that series. The idea being, it's the title right now in my head is Queen's Rising for the whole series. And allowing that to be the series that really explores like a divine inner light, and then using that show as a way to raise up women and a charity and scholarships for women. Um, and then that might be a traveling show, but there's also galleries I want to see it in. There's places just because they have a high caliber of work and are well known that I want to be in. I'd love to show at Sotheby's, and there are just certain aspects and venues. There's a gallery in New York that I've been stalking, and I go stand in every time I visit New York, and I see a show, probably this show there in my head, and it just we'll see what blossoms into reality, and then after that, there's 1,000 things to paint and there's 1,000 things to sculpt. I could have a whole nother career and lifetime as a sculptor. Um, there's not enough hours in the day and or energy in my bones to do everything.
I
So
completely wholeheartedly connect with that or feel that same way
yeah,
where like sometimes I don't want to go to bed because I'm in the middle of a project, whether it be editing or painting, and it's like but I just can't go on anymore.
yeah.
Do you feel comfortable saying the name of the New York Art Gallery?
Um, I don't think
Or
they'll
you could
see
tell me
this.
off
That's
camera.
fine. I really like Forum Gallery in New York. I just like the
Okay.
vibe that's there, and I had a good experience where I went in there and they didn't know I was an artist, but they were really kind to me and welcoming. But I also saw some people come in and buy art that just seemed really cool. Yeah. So right now that's what's in my head.
Well, I love that. And I love the idea of having the traveling show. I think that is so cool. That never even crossed my mind, but I mean, I feel like that's such an uplifting experience to be able to share your art with not just one community, but multiple communities. And I don't know, I feel like art can help people grow or connect with, and I just think that's really powerful. Um, that's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I've seen, I didn't come up with that idea. I saw other artists doing that where they would find different venues in different towns. A lot of times they'd be museums or galleries connected to a university. And I thought that is a wonderful way to get more people to get to see.
I really appreciate you spending time with the Vexit community, and I learned a lot just from having this conversation with you, and it's inspired me as well. So I hope to reconnect with you. Maybe I could come out to Alabama sometime and check out your art space. That
Absolutely.
would
We'd
be
be happy to
absolutely
host you
amazing.
here. Yeah,
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I'd love for you to
Well,
come.
thank you so much for your time, Ann.
Yeah,
And
thank you,
everybody,
John.
please comment. Let us know what you like, how your art experience has gone, and uh why you do art or why you like art. And if you can, check out Ann's website. What was your website again?
AnnMullerStudios.com.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
You're the best. Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you, John.